In the matter of the indictments of the defendant Alex Murdaugh for the murders of his wife Maggie and his son Paul, the state of South Carolina rests.
The prosecution has rested its case in the murder trial of disbarred South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh, who's accused of killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul at Moselle, their family hunting estate, the night of June 7th, 2021.
Turn around for me.
I don't have anything.
Okay, yes sir, I see that. Okay. This is your wife and son?
And son.
Okay.
Murdaugh has pleaded not guilty to both murder charges. Over roughly 4 weeks, the prosecution has called on more than 50 witnesses to testify in front of the jury and presented hundreds of pieces of evidence. The Wall Street Journal's Valerie Bauerlein breaks down some of the key moments we've seen so far and looks ahead to what we can expect from the defense. Murdaugh isn't only facing murder charges. He's been jailed for more than a year on 99 felony counts, primarily related to allegedly swindling clients at his law firm out of $8.8 million over the last decade. He's pleaded not guilty to most of the financial charges against him.
The state argued we need to be able to tell the jury what was going on in the background as we got to June 7th, how this financial fraud that Alex had been, is accused of running for a decade, how it was unraveling on that day. But the defense said he's accused of murder. This is not a trial for these other things. They shouldn't be able to bring all that in. It's prejudicial. It'll confuse the jury.
Judge Newman ultimately sided with the state. So the jury then heard testimony from financial witnesses, including forensic accountants and Murdaugh's former colleagues, who explained how Murdaugh allegedly created a shell account to move his money.
And why do you call it fake forge?
Because there is a real Forge Consulting, but this was a fake company that he set up to mimic and look like and designed to look like Forge.
There was also very kind of wrenching personal testimony, including from the son of his former housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. And so Tony Satterfield took the stand and talked about growing up, knowing Alex his whole life, trusting him after his mother died to arrange some sort of financial settlement so the boys could pay her medical bills. They could pay the rent on their mobile home, and he really trusted Alex to do that. And Alex has acknowledged taking more than $4 million that belonged to those boys.
Murdaugh signed a confession of judgment last year admitting to the theft. A key part of the prosecution's case hinged on a piece of video evidence, which prosecutors say was filmed on Paul's phone and places Murdaugh at the scene moments before the shootings occurred. And several witnesses have taken to the stand to say they hear Murdaugh's voice in the video.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
That's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash.
And one of the things the state has tried to establish is putting very, very close friends of the family, very close friends of Paul on the stand to ask them, yes, I love Paul, I love Alex and Maggie, they were a loving family. Well, yes, but whose voice do you hear on that?
Can you point out Alex Murdaugh, the person whose voice you recognize in this video in this courtroom, please?
Sitting right there in the gray jacket.
They've said, I hear Alex, Maggie, and Paul. And it's been devastating to see these young men, friends of Paul, who clearly still have great affection for the family, acknowledge that it's his voice that they hear.
And while the prosecution has laid out a detailed theory of what they say happened on the night of the murders and why, the presentation of the story was disconnected at times.
The state has not really told a story kind of beginning, middle to end. There have been friends of Paul Murdaugh on the stand, and then financial testimony, and then ballistics evidence. That has created some sense of disjointedness in the courtroom at times.
Now that the state has rested, the defense will have the chance to present its case.
You can expect them to continue to try and poke holes in the state's case, and particularly in their process. And it just doesn't stand to reason, because all this other stuff is going on, that he would kill two people he loved very much.
The defense could echo a theory they've previously brought up in opening statements, that a third party was involved in the murders.
One shooter or two. Two guns, shotgun and an AR. And by the way, Maggie has no defensive wounds because she's running. What's she running from?
But one question remains as the defense prepares its case. Will Murdaugh himself testify?
The theory is that, the jury has heard Alex lie. They've heard him say, and repeatedly in SLED interviews, that he did not see Maggie and Paul in the hours before the homicide, something that has been belied by a video that shows that he was there. And so the theory is that the only person that can address that adequately is Alex Murdaugh himself.